Hey, fractal lovers! In this lesson, we are going to look at some of the most important features of JWildfire. Let's begin. Alright, so this is the interface, and I admit it's a pretty scary interface. I mean, look at all these buttons and tabs and sliders. Button, 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 button. One could go crazy looking at these buttons, but we're not gonna go crazy. You have me here to guide you gently and to show you the main features and the main perks of this program. Now, first things first, you have this random batch here. This is your meat and bones when creating fractals. You just click once and a random batch of fractals is created for you, just like that. The genie in the bottle works its magic and fractals appear on the left. You double click one and fractals appear in the middle of your screen, and then you can modify them furtherly by dragging these interactive points, whatever. Now, what should be of interest to you is this little drop down right here where it says earned rand or R&D flame generator. Now we have a big list right here, and for example, let's say we are going to choose, I don't know, let's see, galaxies. And now if I click random batch, it's going to generate just galaxies for me, which is helpful in case you want to experiment, and see what this program has to offer. And maybe now I want to, let's say, machine, and I click random batch. It's gonna generate just machine fractals, whatever those are, I don't know. And this is a good place to start. This is a good place to start generating your fractals. Now, before we go any further in discussing the features of JWildfire, the important question is, how the heck do you take this fractal from this program into a nice PNG which you can use in your Photoshop work, you can post on your Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And the answer is this button here. So let's say, for example, I like, let's pick a cool fractal. Like, well, it's not cool, but no, that's not cool. Let's say this one, right? It's a decent one. Whatever. Let's say I want to render this fractal. How do I do that? Well, I just click on this little button where it says render image or movie. And right here on the right, you can observe we have the dimensions of our rendered fractal. You can play around and choose some bigger dimensions. Let's say, for example, 1920, 180. And this is going to generate a nice HD version, HD quality fractal. And here you can choose the quality of the fractal. I wouldn't recommend using very low or low. These aren't going to generate very cool effects. You're gonna have noise, you're gonna have artifacts. At the very least, use medium quality, or even better, use high quality. This is, I think, in my opinion, has the best report of performance and quality. Of course, you could go with very high quality, but that would be an overkill, in my opinion. So this will suffice. And let's say, for example, you have chosen this little option here. You want your fractal to be full HD, and you click on render image or movie. And it's going to ask you for a place where to save. And let's say I'm gonna create actually a new folder right here. Let's say I'm gonna say cool fractals, and I'm gonna give it a name. Let's say test fractal, right? Let's name it. Let's also give it a termination. Let's make it testfractal.png and click on save. And what's happening? Am I rendering something? Am I not rendering something? This is the first thing I've asked myself. What the heck is happening? I can't see any indicator. Well, actually you can see it, but it is hidden right here. You see? Where it says 5% here next to real time. This indicates the status of your rendering. So right now it's at 10%, and it's gonna increase as it will render your image. Now, this may take some time, especially if you have high quality here and the fractal is complicated maybe, and you have high document dimensions, it's gonna take a bit of a time. And what's bad about this, and I admit this is one thing I don't like, is that this software uses the CPU to render. If I take a look at my task manager, I can see that the CPU is going strong at 98%, whereas my GPU it's sitting idly at 11%. This is the main, I think, the main drawback. This is the only disadvantage of the software, that it doesn't take advantage of the GPU. If it would, then rendering would happen so much faster, and I think visualization will also happen faster. But it is what it is, you know. Let's not inspect the teeth of our gift horse. You know, it's a gift horse, so it's good. We are grateful to have it. And you would think that going to preferences maybe, and let's say choosing something like, well, actually, you know what? The preferences look quite strange, and I think this is because of the UI. Let me just put the UI back to a default. Let's say apply to application, right? Save and close. And now let's check the settings. And let's see, what do we have here? Well, this looks strange, and I think this has something to do with Windows 7 and having, sorry, Windows 10 and having a black UI in the preferences. I'm not sure. Anyway, you can see here you have all kinds of options, but none of these options, as far as I know, none of these options allow us to change the renderer to the GPU, which is too bad. I hope that maybe one day we'll have GPU rendering, but until then CPU will do just fine. Let's change the UI back to Nimbus, or maybe system. Let's see, apply. Yep, I think this looks a bit cleaner, right? I think we're gonna keep this. That dark one, you could keep it if you want, but I'm gonna keep this one because, or this one, because it just looks a bit more cleaner. And actually, I can see that in fact this is too white, so I don't know what happened there. Oh, this was a subtheme, I see. And if I apply it, it's black. Oh, and default is white. So yep, that was the thingy. I prefer a nice white theme usually. Sure, black themes are also cool, but in this case I find that white themes make this program a bit more clean, a bit more understandable. I can navigate easily, and I think so will you. So while I blabbered my mouth here, the rendering is almost done. It's at 100% now, and right now something cool is gonna happen. I think we're gonna have a little pop-up. Oh look, there's the pop-up. As soon as the rendering finishes, a pop-up appears with the fractal you just created, and you can save it again if you like, but in my case it's already saved. And we can close this, and if I open the pictures folder and go to my cool fractals folder, I can see that I have this ugly fractal. It is an ugly fractal, although it may have its uses, but it's kind of muted. It is a bit vague to say so. So yeah, this is where the fractal is rendered, nice and cool. So now you know how to render a simple fractal. Let me recap for you real quickly. You double click on a fractal you like, you choose the dimensions from here, the quality from here, and click render and choose the file name, and that's it. That's how you render a simple fractal. But this is not the best choice. I'm going to show you an even better choice to render multiple fractals, because let's face it, you're gonna have a lot of fractals you like, and going one by one through each of them and pressing render and waiting for them to finish, it's a pain in the you know where. So I'm gonna show you a better way next time. For now, let's end the session and let's continue.